good Wednesday morning. You had Aaron Rodgers doing his thing with Pat McAfee again yesterday. Man, he really thinks he is coming back. He wants us to believe that he is going to play football this year. He said miraculous, but he wants to do something no one has ever done, which makes me think that him and his doctor, Neil Elitrage, might try to put him on the field too soon to prove their point and try to have some sort of spectacular Jesus-like comeback that we've never seen before that's going to end up hurting him more down the road. So that was a little bit concerning. And boy, the Giants just got crushed everywhere. Not only here on WFAN, but they were the national whipping boy. And Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones and Joe Shane were really getting hammered. And I think it's going to get worse. I mean, I think this is just going to get worse, and the Giants are going to be talked about as the most disappointing team in 2023 after these next 2 weeks. It is going to be ugly. They got to find a way to put the brakes on it. We have a new Speaker of the House, by the way, too, Boomer. We could open with that if you would like. I know it was a big story yesterday.
No, that's fine. We can stay in the sports world, I think, today. Maniacs down there in Washington.
Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, G. I'm doing well. And, let's start with the Aaron Rodgers thing first and foremost. Hey, good for him. If he wants to try to rehab this thing and do something nobody's ever done before, good for him. That's good motivation. That's, he's going to attack the rehab as much as you can attack it. And maybe he and Neil Elitrage will come up with some sort of miracle. And he'll find himself that maybe, just maybe, he might want to get back on the field. But here's two things that I would think of.
Okay.
One is, let's say that Zach Wilson follows up his best game as a pro and now consistently plays over the next 8 or 9 weeks and plays really, really well. And the team galvanizes around him. Team plays great around him. And by some miraculous chance, the Jets find themselves with 4 weeks to go in the season, or maybe 3 weeks to go in the season, right in the thick of the playoff hunt. And Zach Wilson's playing great. It's fine. The light is finally gone on. All right. So why would you bring in Aaron Rodgers to play at that point? That's one. Number two, let's say Zach Wilson reverts back to being Zach Wilson. And over the next 8 or 9 weeks, we have 10 interceptions. We got five fumbles. We have all sorts of, poor passes, and he doesn't figure it out. And the Jets are in the midst of a losing streak, and they're going to have a top 5 pick. And there's no reason in the world to bring back an Aaron Rodgers under that scenario.
Yeah, there's only one way that it makes sense. Only one scenario that makes sense, that the Jets are winning games in spite of Zach Wilson's bad play, which we did see for a portion of last year.
This was one of these games last year, was the Denver game. But remember, Russell Wilson didn't play in this game, Denver. It was Rippon.
Yeah, that's right.
Who was the starting quarterback. Not saying that Russell was in the midst of a really bad year, but probably more competent than Brett Rippon, I would think.
Sure.
So the Jets caught a break in this game last year because of the quarterback situation with the Denver Broncos.
Right. So if the Jets are once again a good team without a competent quarterback and they're hanging around the wild card chase, then that's when you would bring him back if he was able to come back. But what concerns me, though, is we all know Aaron Rodgers isn't 22 years old anymore. And he sounds like he's hell-bent on doing something that nobody's ever done before, which makes me feel like he's going to, and the Jets have bent over backwards to give him everything he wants. So I feel like if he's like, I am playing, I don't care what you guys say, I've worked my ass off 6 hours a day, I got the doctor giving me the go, you are putting me out there on the field because I need to prove to everybody that I did it and no one thought I could do it, and then it ends up screwing with next year, that's a problem. But can't you see the stubbornness of him wanting to prove everybody wrong being a detriment to the rehab process overall? Like,
I'll tell you what, the game he should come back for is at Cleveland. That would be a good game. That's at the end of December, and it's against one of the best defenses in football, and it's going to be freezing cold out. That's going to be great for a rebuilt Achilles.
It's a Thursday night too.
Yeah, that's going to be great for a rebuilt Achilles. So look, whatever motivates him, I don't really care. Mr. Non-Pfizer, whatever it motivates him, that's awesome. It's great. Go motivate yourself and get yourself ready.
Go motivate yourself.
That's right. And what I'm hoping is that he's around the team. Because there is no question in my mind that his presence this weekend, definitely had an impact on the team. And it definitely had an impact on Zach. They need him to be around. And if he can be around the game here with Taylor Swift in the house, then he can be around the game in Denver. And he can be up in the box in Denver. because to me, his calmness, his steadiness, his leadership was evident. And the fact that he spoke to the team, the fact that he was trying to get everybody on the same page, I think most of the young guys appreciate it. And hopefully when those young guys become older guys, they'll have learned from Aaron Rodgers how to be a pro and what goes into being a pro and how you win in this league.
Yeah.
So I hope that he shows up for the Jets in Denver, and I hope he's around that team. I really, really do. I think that's going to be of paramount importance for Zach Wilson. Because I feel like he's his security blanket when he's there.
Now, don't you think that this impact that Aaron Rodgers has had from the second he's gotten here, and then, of course, he goes away and things are ugly, then he comes back and he feels like he's a steadying force, is a little bit of an indictment on Rob Saleh? I mean, the fact that it's taken someone like Aaron Rodgers to show everybody the right way.
Yeah, I'm not
to create the right atmosphere. The real pro. You understand what I'm saying? This is all we're saying.
I know that.
It's like, okay, why couldn't the coach do this?
You know why? I don't know. It's player to player stuff. I'm not trying to indict Rob Saleh here. I'm just trying to say how important.
Not, but that's what it sounds like to me. Is like when Aaron Rodgers is there, everything is great, but when he's not, it's a pure disaster. Aaron Rodgers came back and grabbed the helm. That's what I'm not saying. You're saying that.
Okay.
My point is that we have talked about it in a way that this is exactly what the Jets needed. A real pro, a guy who's been there to take over this franchise and be right there. Then he's gone, and it's a mess again, and everybody's screaming at each other, and they're fighting on the sidelines. Then he comes back, and all of a sudden, here they are again, and they're talking in the locker room, and they're around Zach, and what a profound effect Aaron Rodgers' presence had on Zach Wilson. He played the best game. So to me, it's like, okay, when he's not there, who the hell is the leader? Who the hell is the calming influence? Who's the real pro in the room?
Right now, you got guys like Sauce and Garrett, and these young kids are just they want their numbers. They want to get their passes thrown to them. They're not leaders just yet, just because they won Rookie of the Year. It takes time. It takes discipline. It takes earning everybody's respect. And sometimes, it's a leaderless ship, and that's why they brought in Aaron Rodgers in the first place. And even Joe Douglas, do you remember Joe Douglas told us he's never been around a Hall of Fame quarterback and watched a Hall of Fame quarterback run a team, run a practice, yell at the defense, yell at the offense, tell his quarterbacks, go have lunch with somebody else on the team, go meet somebody else, go ingratiate yourself to your teammates. I mean, all of that stuff, you can't take it for granted. And I do believe that it had a profound effect on Zach and everybody else this weekend. And like I said, I hope it happens again. I hope he continues to come to the games, and I hope he continues to be around the team, because that part of it I cannot dispute, and I cannot say that it has a profound effect, because the two games that he was gone, when he wasn't around, there was the infighting, there was the screaming and yelling. They got torched by the Cowboys. They got beat by a Patriot team that they should have beaten, and they didn't. And you can't explain to me any other way for their improvement, especially on offense, because Aaron Rodgers was here. I believe that. So I believe that, and I wish Aaron Rodgers would show up for the Giants, too, because they are a mess.
Yeah.
We told you that yesterday, too.
Right, absolutely. But I think about a guy like Mike McDaniel, who right now, even though they got beat by the Bills, but still, he is the in kid. He is the hot name. He is the next Sean McVay. He's got this offense going crazy. And he's young, and he's cool, and he's fun, and his press conferences and all of these things. He's awkward, but all the players love him. There's Instagram reels and TikToks of him walking around, bouncing to the hip-hop music and slapping the hands of the players. And I think, is he that much better of a coach where he has gotten his team to this point where we believe that they can contend for a Super Bowl, or is it the talent? Like if you swapped,
I think it's both. It's both.
Well, if you swapped Rob Saleh and Mike McDaniel, what would you get out of these teams?
Yeah, I don't know who would be calling the offense or designing the offense for the Dolphins. Mike McDaniel and his offensive coaches really have created something that the NFL hasn't seen, and it's very difficult to deal with. Although Buffalo did deal with it just fine last week. But one of the reasons Buffalo was able to deal with it is because Josh Allen, for the last 3 weeks, has completed over 80% of his passes. He has only turned the ball over once, and he's playing at a level that we saw last year at the beginning of the year when we were all talking about him as being the potential MVP of the NFL this early in the season. Now, all of a sudden, he's playing that same way. He's not turning it over. He's running with it. He's making plays. That's the Josh Allen that Brian Daboll had in Buffalo when he was the offense coordinator. The guy who was Mr. Energy as opposed to Mr. Flatliner. Mr. Energy has got to be the heartbeat of your team. You can't have a flatliner as a quarterback. And that's why we were talking about this yesterday when Troy Aikman said...
It was actually Joe Buck, by the way.
Joe Buck
that was clarified yesterday.
It was? Okay, good.
Yeah, but we actually... Evan found the audio and ended up playing it.
Oh, thanks, Evan. That's
on
good.
the afternoon show to have a discussion about it because you brought it up. And it was Troy Aikman who... The thing doesn't change who said it because it came from the conversation with Brian Daboll that he had with both Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, and Joe said what he told us was this, that I always have the energy, but that's what I'm trying to get at Daniel Jones is the energy.
Yeah, so it was accurate. It's just the wrong guy, but same booth.
Yeah,
they're standing next to each other.
Same stuff.
And I'm sure that they've spoken about it together.
Yeah.
So the real aspect here is that he does have a heartbeat down in Miami. His name is Tua Tagovailoa, and those guys have really seemed to connected. Those two coaches, the coach and the quarterback, have connected. I thought Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones did connect last year, and it was hard coaching. It was we're gonna stop turning the ball over. We're gonna bring the energy, and I thought for sure that Daniel Jones would throw for like 30 touchdown passes this year. Because Brian Daboll knows, just like everybody else knows, that everybody's looking at statistics. And one of the great things that Daniel did last year, he didn't turn the ball over. But he only had 15 touchdown passes. He did run for 7 touchdowns. Yeah, okay, he was responsible for 22. We understand that. But that's not $41 million worth of quarterbacking in this league now. $41 million worth of quarterbacking, that's why I thought it was going to be a 30 touchdown pass season for him and maybe 10 interceptions. And right now, it's probably collectively the worst team in the league in my eyes. Statistics tell me that. The record tells me that. My eyes tell me that. The way that they play, they come out flat in every single game. They're being outscored like 79-3 in the first quarter. In the first half, it's ridiculous. Now they're going against Miami. They have 2,044 yards, most ever within the first 4 games of offense in the history of the NFL. A team that scores about 37 points per game. Here's a team, the Giants, coming in, scoring 11 points per game and averaging like 250 yards of offense.
Yeah, I would probably say, so the other really, really miserable teams in the league right now, Chicago is up there. I mean, they are. That's
scored 28 points last week, and the quarterback had 3 touchdowns and over 300 yards.
But I could give you the Arizona game to match up with that, and Justin Fields in those other games are terrible, absolutely terrible, and no one really had high expectations for the Bears, but the Bears were that team, they haven't won a game yet. So yes, they're there. I think the Bears are probably worse, and their head coach right now and general manager are getting murdered. They got a player in Chase Claypool who they're keeping away from the team. It's a mess there. That's the biggest mess in the NFL is the Chicago Bears.
Well, they also lost their defense coordinator.
Right, who got, for whatever the hell happened there. It's still one of the quiet, weird stories, and all the reporting just stopped on that. It was like, that was the end of that. So who the hell knows? But the Giants are probably, like Carolina, they've been in games.
Yeah, they got a rookie quarterback. They played with Andy Dalton, threw for, 350 yards in a game.
So I would say, all right, so here, the
Giants
Raiders,
statistics tell you.
No, I know, but I'm just trying to paint a picture. The Raiders.
Quarterback's hurt.
Pretty bad, though. Quarterback's hurt, but they got Devontae Adams killing the team and calling them out. And then the Denver Broncos, who got, 70 hung on them. And Sean Payton, who called out the previous head coach, is doing just as bad of a job.
Had leads at halftime. And then ended up blowing games at the end of games. The Jets and the Giants are the only 2 teams in the NFL this year that have not played with the lead in a game. The only 2 teams. And they're right here in New York.
That is insane.
I'm going to, we could sit here and look at all these other teams. I'm just telling you what the statistics tell me.
No, I know.
I got one team, the Giants, who just give up more points than anybody else. They don't get any turnovers. They're 0. And they're -8 on the turnover differential. That's the worst in the league. One of the worst in the leagues.
Yeah, so but they're right there as the biggest mess in the NFL. I think the Bears are the biggest. The Giants and the Broncos, I think, are sort of the same situation right now. So yeah, it's that bad.
The Broncos are better than the Giants.
Are they?
Tell me what about the Giants? And I don't look. I'm just being honest. Oh, I sat here yesterday and I read you all the statistics. Bill Parcells always used to say, you are what your record says you are. Well, when you look at this record and you look at their performance, with the exception of one half in Arizona, this is by far the worst team in the league. It's one half in one game against one of the other worst teams in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
at least that team, actually, the Arizona Cardinals, they come out and fight.
No, Cardinals, I didn't see. If you notice, I did not mention the Cardinals.
But they fight. They
I know. That's why I didn't mention them. Because
and I know it's a new coach and everything there, just kind of like Brian Daboll was a new coach here, and maybe the schedule's a little bit weaker. Who knows? But this team is flat when the games start.
Yeah.
Totally flat.
No, it's bad. It's bad.
They're averaging 11 points a game. I don't know what else you wanted.
I'm not arguing with you. Chill out. Jesus,
factual.
I'm telling you, I'm agreeing with you at the same time. I'm just trying to paint a picture of how bad it is, because we look at these other teams saying, like, the Bears are a mess, this team's a mess. But if you think they're the worst team in the NFL, then you say the worst team in the NFL. I say the Bears are worse.
I'm telling you, watching every single snap and every single game that they played, with the exception of when Daniel Jones put the team on his back, the second half of the Arizona Cardinal game, and then with Joe Buck telling us exactly what Brian Daboll was saying, and then looking at what Josh Allen is doing, trying to put all this stuff into the blender and looking at it, and you see exactly what's going on. And I know the frustration that the coach has. He's never going to say it. His face shows it. You could see it on the sideline, and he is frustrated with. Look, there's a lot to be frustrated with.
Yeah,
rookie cornerbacks, lack of pass rush. There's a million things. I told you, it permeates throughout the roster. But the heartbeat of your team cannot be a flatliner unless you have a top 5 defense in the league. Then maybe he could be a flatliner. And nothing really shows that more than what Aaron Rodgers did for the Jets when they got him here.
I will say, though, that I do think the Bears are worse, but their future right now with the top 2 picks in the draft and Caleb Williams coming out, and probably they're going to have a new coach and a new GM, I would probably sign up for their future right now ahead of the Giants' future, who are tied to Daniel Jones for $40 million a year.
So how let me ask you this question. When do you think Saquon Barkley will be back? Because it seems to be like a thing for the Giants when he's back and he's rolling. They tend to get rolling that second half of the Cardinal game before he got hurt. He was a big part of that comeback.
Yeah, I mean, it better be this week, because they're going to need all the offense they can get.
I'm telling you, that's a high ankle sprain. They said a couple weeks. Here we are, a couple weeks. I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean,
and if he does come back, he's rushing it, and he's rushing it because he wants to get back on the field and he wants to help his teammates.
Well, yeah, because I mean, this is the entire season right here. Just like this was a must-win game. I mean, if you could find a way to pull off an upset the next 2 weeks, it's sort of like the same thing. You thought you'd beat Seattle and you thought you'd lose to Miami, but they're not going to be able to beat these teams.
He has got to be 100% healthy before he goes back on the field.
Yeah.
100%, especially with a lower leg injury. He cannot go back out there 85% because he'll just get it hurt again. And, guess what? They'll be tackling him at his ankles. And will he be able to run the way that he normally runs, or will he run trying to protect himself?
As Al always says, they're going to work the ankle. They're going to get down there, they're going to twist it under the pile. They're going to work that ankle, just like those pro wrestlers. They're going to
work the ankle. That's exactly right, Al.
Yeah.
Just like you when you had that bump on your shin. I noticed that people were trying to, hit, screaming line drives to you.
Right, that's why I didn't want to play.
Yeah.
Work the shin. All right, Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. Get Jerry Recco in here in just a couple of minutes.